The moment you defend yourself, you've already lost. Think about it. The instant you begin explaining, justifying, or proving your worth, you are no longer the one in control. You've stepped into someone else's frame, someone else's rules, someone else's power. Machiavelli understood this, and he left us a lesson so powerful, so dangerous, that it can flip any situation instantly. If you've ever been attacked, accused, or questioned, and you felt the desperate need to defend yourself, this video will change how you see power forever. Before we go deeper, if you value timeless wisdom from history's greatest thinkers, subscribe now to Truth by Philosophers. Together we bring ancient power into the modern world. Transition into lesson. Let's begin with the first principle. Defensiveness is weakness. Niccolo Machiavelli, author of The Prince, advisor to rulers and master of political survival, saw the battlefield of human affairs with clarity. He knew that words, not just swords, can crown a king or destroy him. And he knew that whenever a ruler or a common man begins to defend himself, he loses dignity. Why? Because defense is reactive. It admits that the other person holds the initiative. To defend is to kneel before an accusation. To defend is to confess that another's opinion has the power to wound you. This is the first trap of power, the illusion that if you just explain yourself clearly, if you just lay out your reasons, the world will see your truth. But Machiavelli laughed at such naivete. He knew men do not care about truth, they care about perception. And perception is shaped not by who is right, but by who looks stronger. Philosophical development. Consider the courtroom of public opinion. A man is accused of corruption. He gathers evidence, presents documents, shouts his innocence. The people watch. And what do they think? Why is he working so hard to prove himself? Perhaps he truly is guilty. His defense, no matter how logical, becomes the shadow of his guilt. The wise man, Machiavelli would say, does not crawl into the mud to wrestle with accusations. He rises above them. He does not defend, he redirects. He does not explain, he reframes. The secret is this: to defend is to play the enemy's game. To ignore or to counterattack is to flip the frame entirely. Illustration. Story-like example. Let me give you a story. Imagine a Renaissance prince accused by his enemies of weakness. His advisors urge him to make a speech to assure the people that he is strong, capable, and just. But the prince, if he is wise, says nothing. Instead, the very next day, he rides into the town square, sword drawn, and oversees the public execution of a known traitor. He does not explain his strength. He demonstrates it. The people no longer wonder if he is weak, they fear his resolve. The accusation evaporates, not because it was disproven, but because it was rendered irrelevant. This is the Machiavellian trick. Power is never maintained by defending words. Power is maintained by decisive acts, silence, and reframing. Dig deeper, psychological angle. Let us pause here. Why do humans instinctively defend themselves? Because the ego cannot bear an attack. Someone questions your honor, your intelligence, your loyalty, and the animal in you leaps to respond, "No, you're wrong. Let me explain." But the moment you do, you've given them authority. You've declared their opinion so important that your peace depends on correcting it. But here's the paradox. The less you defend, the stronger you appear. The more you allow accusations to pass like wind against stone, the more you project indifference. And indifference is power. Machiavelli's wisdom here converges with the Stoics. Epictetus said, "If you are told that someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself against what was said, but answer, 'He did not know the rest of my faults, or he would not have mentioned only these.'" A shocking response. No defense, Only irony which transforms the attack into strength. Bridge to Chapter 2. So, what do we learn from this first principle? That defending yourself is a trap. The wise man does not react. He reframes. He demonstrates. He lets actions speak where words would betray weakness. But this raises a question. If you should never defend yourself, then what should you do instead? How do you flip the frame instantly and turn attacks into tools of power? For that, we must move to Machiavelli's second lesson. Rehook. Keep engagement high. If defending yourself is surrender, then how do you fight back without fighting? Machiavelli gives us the answer. Never play on the enemy's terms. Instead, seize the frame. Redefine the battlefield. In this, silence, offense, and storytelling become your greatest weapons. And if you're finding value in these insights, hit like and subscribe now to Truth by Philosophers, because these timeless strategies will arm you with the kind of power most people never see. Transition into tactics. Let us go deeper. Imagine again the prince accused of weakness. He has three options: defend himself, speak, explain, justify. This, we know, is death to power. Ignore completely, sometimes effective, but silence alone can look like avoidance. Reframe the situation. Transform the accusation into proof of strength. It is the third that Machiavelli masters. Reframing means you do not deny the attack, you shift the meaning. Historical illustration. Consider Cesare Borgia, the infamous duke whom Machiavelli admired. He was called cruel by his enemies. Did he deny it? No, he amplified it. He made cruelty seem necessary for order. When he executed his brutal lieutenant, Ramiro de Orco, he displayed the body in the public square. People whispered, "He is cruel." But he punishes cruelty itself. The frame shifted. Cruelty became justice. Had he defended himself, "No, I am not cruel," he would have looked weak. Instead, he reframed cruelty as discipline, as a tool of governance. He flipped the attack into a crown, modern psychological insight. This works even in everyday life. When someone says, "You're arrogant," the natural urge is to defend. "No, I'm just confident." But this validates the accusation. Instead, reframe. Better arrogant than dependent. Now arrogance becomes independence. The insult becomes a compliment. The attack becomes fuel. Machiavelli knew that human beings are storytellers. Whoever controls the story controls the truth. To defend is to accept the enemy's story. To reframe is to become the storyteller yourself. The silence technique. But there is another weapon. Silence. Silence terrifies. Silence forces the attacker to wonder, to doubt, to lose ground. Silence is not emptiness, it is a mirror. When you do not defend yourself, people begin to imagine reasons. Often, they imagine power. Machiavelli observed that princes who speak too much are mocked. Princes who remain silent appear mysterious. Mystery breeds fear, and fear, combined with respect, sustains authority. The counterattack technique. Finally, there is the counterattack. Not defense, not explanation, but redirection. If accused of dishonesty instead of denying, accuse the accuser. Strange that you bring up honesty, given your record. The focus shifts. The burden moves. You stand tall, unbent. Philosophical synthesis. So what do we have? Machiavelli's complete strategy for never defending yourself. Do not react defensively. Reframe accusations into strengths. Use silence to project mystery. Counterattack to shift the frame. Demonstrate truth with decisive action, not fragile words. This is the art of power. This is how you flip the frame instantly. Closing reflection. Powerful, emotional. Understand this. Life is a theater of perception. The world does not ask what is true. The world asks what appears strong. When you defend yourself, you appear weak, because you admit the power of another's judgment. When you reframe, when you remain silent, when you act decisively, you appear unshakable. And in that appearance lies real strength. Machiavelli's warning echoes across centuries. It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles. Defending yourself dishonors you. Reframing power, acting with authority, and rising above attacks. That is how you make the title yours. So the next time someone questions you, remember, never defend. Flip the frame. Rewrite the story. And stand where Machiavelli stood, above the battlefield, calm, untouchable, powerful. If this wisdom resonated with you, if you felt the shift in perspective, then subscribe to Truth by Philosophers. Like this video to help more seekers find it. And remember, power is not taken, it is created. The choice is yours.